As the 16 Days of Activism campaign draws to a close, men are coming together for a dialogue session. The campaign aims to combat gender-based violence. More than 200 men from different sectors in society will be discussing the impact of GBV in Gauteng and try to find creative ways to address the scourge. eNCA reporter Slindelo Masigani is on that story and she joins us now live. Sli, a little earlier on you were telling us about that very terrible story of a woman who suffered GBV. She lost an eye. What else have you heard during that program today?
Certainly scenes were quite emotional during that testimony by that gender-based violence survivor. We found ourselves here in Tembisa, a dialogue amongst men to hold each other accountable and save a life in turn, as well as spread the message against the scourge of gender-based violence. But for those who missed that interview with that gender-based violence survivor, let's just take a listen to what she had to say.
Okay, it was really hard for me. I don't want to lie, it was really hard for me. I went for therapy many times, but it was not helping because I was still traumatized, so I couldn't, it was not helping at all. After 2 years, that's when I decided that I really need help now. I really need to do this. I'm tired of this trauma because it was haunting me wherever I go. And I decided to seek for help to power. That's where I got my help.
So, Sli, we saw those devastating statistics that the Minister of Police released earlier this year about what happened in South Africa between July and September. The Community Safety Department, rather, is a stakeholder in this. What are they saying?
Well, they are the ones actually who are hosting this dialogue, Masego, and I am joined by the HOD of the department, Mesisulu. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, we saw those emotional scenes earlier on. You were quite emotional yourself, and you've brought all these men here together. What do you hope to come out of it?
We're really hoping that young men, will be able to be safety ambassadors. They'll be able to be advocates for gender-based violence in their homes first and in their communities, where they will also begin to educate other men who are not here, to let them know that gender-based violence takes many forms. Men were equally shocked by that harrowing account of the survivor. I even now have goosebumps. I haven't recovered from that. You know, we want men to be our eyes and our ears on the ground. Intimate partner violence happens in the home. SAPS is here. The criminal justice system, the advocate is here from the Department of Justice. We are here at a provincial level. The Community Policing Forum is here. But without the community themselves, there is very little we can really do. So we really need men to begin to speak to each other amongst themselves to raise awareness. The 16 Days campaign is to do just that, to raise awareness and then take that awareness and translate it into action.
Another issue that women face, Mrs. Sisulu, is the fact that when it comes to the legal system, the justice system, that's where it really lets us down.
It really does. I can tell you that for a fact. It lets us down in very many ways, but we're quite confident now with the amendment of the Domestic Violence Act, and we must keep an eye on that as citizens, as government. We are really putting that forward to make sure that, because the Domestic Violence Act did have limitations in that it said, amongst others, that the domestic violence had to be imminent and it had to be continuous, amongst others. And when you are in that kind of a situation, you're not always documenting how continuous it is. And the fact that it takes many forms is not always taken into account. The financial, the psychological, the emotional, and oftentimes it's only the physical violence that is taken into account. So from the reporting the SAPS to going into court, that whole continuum has to be taken into account, particularly for those who cannot afford lawyers.
And of course, we're hoping that this dialogue moves past the 16 days. Today is the last day. What are you hoping is the message that these men here in this room will be taking back to their communities?
We're hoping that they take back the fact that it's 365 days. As a Department of Community Safety, we have patrollers program where we have ordinary citizens who are part of our communities, but the gender-based violence brigaders who go from every household throughout the year to ensure that they are checking on households if people are experiencing domestic violence or not. And sometimes people are afraid to speak because they are in a domestic violence situation, and then we just know they have to note and make sure that they're taking that into account. But also we are ensuring that men are taking away from here that they are able to change the situation. That it is because men are predominantly perpetrators, that they can actually assist in changing the situation that we're in right now.
And lastly, what do you say to survivors like the one we saw speaking earlier today, and those women who may find themselves in those kinds of situations?
There are societal norms, there are institutional norms. The societal norms, some of which we are self-imposing. We want to have, as women perhaps, to have a partner. We also would want to be seen to be having a partner. There are institutions like the church that encourage that we have partners, but we also have our family members who are not necessarily supporting us. And we want to be able to say that we can be independent, and it is okay not to have a partner, not to be in a relationship. It's okay to be single, and it's important that when you do see the signs, believe them, because that one strike you may survive that one strike, but you may not survive the next one.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. All right, that's the HOD of the Community Safety Department. Masego, I'm just going to ask Kamo and Masisulu if you could just, you could see that the dialogue is continuing, and very strong sentiments from the HOD around, recognizing the signs of gender-based violence, but also the message really today is for men to take away that it's in their hands, that they need to actually hold each other accountable. And that when they see gender-based violence, they need to report it and get that woman, that child out of that situation, but also a call to women to also understand that they can walk away from those situations, and that it's okay to be single because you don't need to be in an abusive relationship.
All right, Slindelo Masigane in Tembisa on the East Rand. Let's leave it there for now.